All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. However, you are taking in this podcast. I greatly appreciate you. If you're not yet subscribed or following, please go ahead and do that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you listen to the podcast, just hit up Spotify, Apple, wherever you normally listen to them, and make sure you hit that follow button. It helps us continue to grow the show. And speaking of, today's show is presented by the law office of William Mattar. Heard in a car, call William Mattar, 444-4444. Call William Mattar today to get the compensation that you deserve. This is our Wednesday podcast, midweek, which means, as usual, I'm joined by my good buddy over from SB Nation, Matt Warren, our weekly Bills positional analysis, report card grade, and a look to the next opponent, which this week, of course, is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. What's going on, man? How you doing, Matt? What's up?
Good. Don't quite have the Christmas tree up yet here in the office but I did get a whole bunch of new ornaments this year. Went to the Buffalo store in August and got, I think, 3 or 4 new ones to put on the tree. So it'll be up here at some point in the near future. But yeah, no, I mean, we got snow now. We've got the New England Patriots are playing for the AFC East division crown the next time they suit up. We are in December football, babe. Let's go.
We are. It is snowing out. We're taping this on Tuesday, late morning. I always say that, which is funny because, I usually say, well, we're recording this on Tuesday just in case something happens and we don't get to talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
Last week, what was it, maybe an hour or so after we were done recording, the Bills went out and they signed Brandon Cooks. So you never know what could happen. Who knows what's going on with Joey Bosa and his injury. So we'll see how things play out. But anyway, we are recording this on Tuesday. There is a decent amount of snow here in West Seneca as we're recording this. To your point, by the way, I don't hate snow in December. I'm not a winter. I'm not a winter guy. I hate winter. I hate being cold. I hate the wind. I hate the snow. But December is allowable to me because it's Christmas season and snow just makes it feel more Christmassy. To your point, though, so it's December 2nd as we're recording this. I'm kind of mad at my family. We still don't have all of our Christmas shit up. And the last couple of years, I've put it up at the beginning of November, which I got yelled at and not happy. And, they fought me and they won. It's too early to have it up that early. I don't like waiting this long. No, because Christmas is in 3 weeks and 2 days. Anyway, I'm late. Part of it's that I'm just lazy, but I got a messed up log, man. I cannot carry stuff upstairs. All the Christmas stuff's in the basement, and my son still hasn't brought all the shit up. Started on Monday. Finally started to put up a couple things when I had some time. I go to work later on today. It better be very Christmassy in this house when I get home tonight because it's not Christmassy at all here, and I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. I've got the Nutcracker up, and then I'm going to have to flip around my little people to put the snow globe little people in front. Y'all that have the little people sets, you understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. We have everything else up except for our tree. And so I did lights this weekend. We like to do it over Thanksgiving. Because my wife's a teacher, my kids are home. So we have some extra time. And so we got everything done except for the tree, which we'll put up at some point this week.
That was the plan. And then my son just blew me off pretty much for the last 3 or 4 days. I got to decorate a little bit here in the home studio. I do have 15 Little Debbie Christmas tree boxes of
that's a lot
cakes.
Holy crap.
Yeah, well, they'll be gone soon enough. Trust me when I tell
you. Oh
you.
yeah, I know. I give my wife a box of them for Christmas every year. And so if you don't buy them in November, early December, they're gone. You have to settle for the big ones, and the big ones don't have the same ratio. They're not as good.
They're not. And that's what I'm saying, man. I was stockpiling now. To be fair, I probably have eaten about 7 or 8 boxes besides these 15. Yeah, it's get fat season for me. I gotta get bigger and fatter so that when I start my diet on January 1st, it's I can lose more weight. It'll feel better the next year.
You've got the Josh Allen snow game, picture up there. That's that's holiday decorating in my opinion. And the anniversary of that was on Monday of this week, December 1st. So that's
right.
Fun.
That is right. It is kind of Christmassy now. The Michael Jackson Thriller cover, maybe not so much. Or the Lionel Richie album cover next to it, maybe not quite as much. Anyway, yeah, it's Christmas season now. We're into December. It's snowing here in Western New York. And I do love this time of year. I'll love it a lot more, hopefully, later tonight when the Christmas tree and all the lights are on as well. One other thing, too, and this is actually related to football. I think this might have been the last straw this week, Matt. I think I need to retire from in-game tweeting unless I'm tweeting out a fact. Like the Bills go down and score a touchdown. If Trey White misses a tackle, that's okay. But what I need to stop doing is inserting my very strong opinions.
What did you do wrong this week?
In the first half of games. I took Joe Brady to woodshed in the first half and maybe the start of the third quarter as well. I called him a disgrace. I said if win or lose, it would be embarrassing if Sean McDermott didn't fire him this late in the season. I'm sure I said a lot worse, but I definitely had at least 5 or 6 anti-Joe Brady tweets that I rattled off. And look, maybe if you're talking about the course of the season, sure. But in the heat of the moment, in the game, I get into it. I get invested. We talked about this a couple weeks ago where I put up a Josh Allen, has to do too much to carry the team. He's got to be Superman. And 2 or 3 plays later, he's messing up himself, and it's not no one else's fault but his own. And Kay Adams quote tweets me from a game from 2 weeks ago. It takes on a life of its own. This week, it was me just in the heat of the moment, just teeing off on Joe Brady. And we'll talk about him specifically when we get to the coaching during our report card grades here. But yeah, just kind of like you got to let things play out a little bit before you really insert opinions on games. Now, you could talk about where a game is going. Like, hey, so far they're doing this or not doing this. But I really need to stop that. It's embarrassing.
At halftime, I think every Bills fan had a right to be frustrated with how the game was going. They only had 3 points. They were losing to a Steelers team only because they turned the ball over. And the Steelers were able to go 39 yards on a short field because of that James Cook blunder. Yeah. Like at halftime, I was frustrated. I mean, I was alone in the house, so that was nice that I got to yell and scream like that because my wife and kids went over to the in-laws to set up their Christmas decorations during the game. And so I was able to, be very angry when James Cook, pulled his little thing. But they got it back. I understand why you're frustrated at halftime.
Well, that's an understatement. I'm just looking at a couple here.
Fair.
Win or lose, if this game doesn't convince McDermott to fire Joe Brady, nothing will. This is an absolute embarrassment. They're treating Josh Allen like he's Marcus Mariota. It's disgraceful.
Can you imagine if they fired him after the game and then you found out that he had a kid the day before? So he's fired on the same day he has his daughter. Come on.
That would be a rough ass day to have your daughter born and then get fired on the same day. Would
McDermott do that? Come on. I don't think so.
Now, I lived in Florida for 5 years with my son who played high school football down there. And on God, I literally have seen more creative offense at the high school level down there than I do with this Joe Brady offense. That'd be fine if the quarterback wasn't Josh Allen. This is just me spewing off stupid. Well, they turned out to be stupid. Now, if the Bills had lost this game and Josh Allen, they didn't throw the football against the worst pass rush in the NFL or the worst pass defense in the NFL, maybe I'd have it right. But my whole point is the in-game tweeting. I got to chill on that because it's embarrassing. Now, the only thing I'll give myself credit for, I don't delete them. I own them. I let people tee off on me the next day because I'm tweeting these halfway through the second quarter and people are responding saying I'm stupid on Monday. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I call it, it's Nate Gehry syndrome, man. I say what I feel in the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's danger to that. I try to be at least publicly a little bit more even keel during the games and talk about specific events instead of making broad generalizations. But certainly some of those thoughts go through my head during games as well. I just try not to try not to put them out there.
Yeah, we got to be a little more even keel, like you said, to your point. That's what you're good at, and I am not so much me. Anyway, all right, let's get into our positional analysis from this game, and we'll start at quarterback. Some of these I feel like are going to be a couple of these positions. They should be really easy. There's one position, Matt, and I'll let you know when we get to it, where when I put on the All-22, I was borderline blown away. Maybe two positions, but one for sure that I never really thought about during the game until I went back and I rewatched that. Okay. But anyway, we'll start at quarterback. So Josh Allen, an interesting day. 15 of 23 passing for only 123 yards. He did throw an interception in the first quarter on a pass to Gabe Davis. Even watching it back, I don't know whose fault it is. Like maybe Gabe broke off the route a little or too early or didn't commit. I don't know. But anyway, he did throw an interception. He was not sacked. I use him in that instead of the offensive line because there were a couple occasions where he escaped what would have been a sack. That touchdown pass to Keon Coleman was just absolute beautiful. Eccles had him dead, the corner, number 26 on the blitz, and Josh Allen made him miss, changed from going to Dawson Knox to Keon, and bam, touchdown. That was one of the best plays of the game. No doubt about it. He's pressured 7 times. He did have a touchdown run. He had a couple nice runs, too. He overtook Cam Newton. Now, no one has ever ran for more touchdowns than any quarterback ever. So, kind of a sort of a mixed bag in a way. Like, the passing stats weren't great at all, but we all know what kind of day this was for the Bills offense. So, I don't know. What do you think when it comes to quarterback?
Sure. I give him a B for the game. Obviously the touchdown pass wasn't the design of the play but that's just like goes to show how good he is in those situations and how dangerous he is in the red zone. The run touchdown was another like beautiful thing. Like seeing the picture of him smiling as he's getting shoved into the end zone. Like, I mean, I love the demon, Josh Allen. It's so much fun. I do think there were better options on that interception that he threw to Gabe Davis. And I know he trusts him a lot, but I do think if you look left to right on that play instead of right to left, and I don't obviously know who the first read is supposed to be, but I do think that there were better options pre-snap that he could have gone with on that throw. So I gave him a B. It was a solid performance. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't play a little bit better, but I do think that the game plan not resting on Josh Allen was probably the best way to do this game, because he could have gone into YOLO Josh really easily if they had tried to, put the cape on him and have him do everything against that pass rush and that turnover heavy defense. Because you said that they were a terrible pass defense, and that's true. I think they were like 28th or 30th in passing yards allowed coming into the game, but they were second in turnovers. And so like, that's how like they live and die by the turnover. And obviously the Bills have also done that on offense this season. And so I thought keeping it off of Josh Allen was probably the right call. And so I gave him a B for this game.
Let me ask you this. And also I would say, I think Josh was a little frustrated early on.
Oh yeah.
Fortunately, things started to go his way, but you could just tell he was starting to get really perturbed with, just the way the game was going early on. When he took that hit from Patrick Queen, which was absolutely a late hit, it was a dirty hit as well. I'll add this. I think part of the reason why he didn't get that call, and it should have been a penalty. I'm not saying it should have been a penalty. It was. But I think, when you act as much as Josh does, and when you get that reputation that he has now for being a flopper, that sometimes you're going to get a legit lick that should be a penalty. And if the ref doesn't see it beautifully, he might determine that you're flopping and not throw a flag. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't have been a flag, because it absolutely should have been.
It should have.
And that was just filthy too. But anyway, I think that's part of the reason why he didn't get that call, because it's just he's got that reputation now. But I guess my question is, not just Josh Allen specifically, but just this entire offense, maybe the whole team for that matter, that hit. Do you feel like that kind of actually juiced them up a little bit? You see Alec Anderson, Ryan Vandermark, they start to run immediately towards Queen. Josh Allen's, he's fired up after that. And, the Cam Hayward stuff too before that. It's just, it felt like they used Pittsburgh. They used that as fuel. You know what I mean? The chirping and getting into the game. I feel like it actually helped them a little bit in this game with the energy.
Yeah, Josh Allen said as much after the game in his post-game press conference. Like, he's like, yeah, I think it did like juice us up a little bit. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember his exact words. But yeah, the Cam Hayward stuff, like, I mean, I'm sure that turned the dial up a little bit. What I was lamenting, I guess, in the moment is like, if Spencer Brown was in that game instead of Alec Anderson. Now, Alec Anderson, he is also a very, very physical,
it's crazy,
to the whistle, past the whistle kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like Spencer Brown, I just have a feeling if he was in, he might have got thrown out anyway, because like that guy was on the right side. Like, he would have been close. Like, he might have gone over and like took that guy's head off. So
yeah, you got to protect your quarterback.
Not a dig on Alec Anderson here. I thought he did an appropriate amount of work after that play.
Yeah. Now, if Josh Allen took a hit like Jackson Dart took Monday night, I think Spencer Brown or Alec Anderson might have killed Ellis, the linebacker.
I don't know.
It wasn't a dirty hit, though.
Man. He was still in bounds. I think
agreed.
The hit on Allen was worse than the hit on Dart.
It was dirtier, that's for sure.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, I definitely think that helped juice them up. All right, let's get to running backs here. James Cook, 32 carries. Goddamn, 32 carries. 144 yards. He had 3 carries of at least 10 yards. He did lose a fumble, and that was very frustrating, and it was his fault, too. It wasn't. Sometimes a running back, they're trying to make something happen. We've talked about this before because it happened the first time with Cook's first fumble, where he's really trying to make something happen, and, you know, the ball comes loose just as his knees hit in the ground. This was just James Cook not taking good care enough of the football. But that play aside, he was awesome running the football, and he also led the team with 33 yards receiving on 3 catches. He's starting to become a little bit more of a consistent weapon, and I don't want to say weapon, but he's become more involved in the passing game for sure, and I love to see that. But anyway, a great game for him. Ray Davis.
Welcome back, Ray Davis.
Welcome back, Ray Davis. He went from a guy who looks like he could get cut a couple weeks ago. I thought they could cut him at any time. In fact, I think I said to you at some point in the season during our weekly reviews here, I was like, you could cut him and put Frank Gore Jr. on this active roster, and I really wouldn't care. Well, I care now because he's been good on special teams.
Yep.
And today, or last week, I should say, he was good on offense. 9 carries for 62 yards. He had 4 of those 9 carries went for at least 10 yards. So he is really impressive. Ty Johnson, 2 carries for 5 yards. But I will note, one of those carries was a 4th and 2 where he got the first down. So that was a big carry. And then I think he had 3 catches for 20 yards too. So this was a really good day for the running backs. What do you got?
Yeah, if Cook hadn't done like the gray infomercial actor before they get the new product thing and fumbled the ball on his own accord, I think they would be an A+. But I gave them an A. It's hard. Like, I would tend to knock a position group down like an entire letter grade based on like super boneheaded plays like that fumble, but they were just so good outside of that. You know, Cook set his career high in rushing attempts with 32 in this game. And an interesting stat I figured out today, 4 of his 5 highest rushing attempt games of his entire career are this year. And, you know, his previous career high was earlier this month. So they're using him a ton more. And maybe that's because of the Ray Davis struggles, to your point earlier. But they're using him a ton more. They're getting what they can from him. Obviously, if you're going to pay him that much, you might as well, you know, use him as much as you can. And they're doing that. So I gave them an A. And I really liked what the running backs did in this game outside of, you know, kneeing the football out of your own hand.
I had a conversation with Joe from Queens on the show a couple days ago. I want to get your quick opinion on this too. Sure. James Cook is taking his game to another level. He's already set a career high in rushing yards.
Crazy.
And, I mean, he's close to Jonathan Taylor right now. He's neck and neck with him. But anyway,
you could get to 2,000.
Yeah, he could.
Because they're going to be playing in week 18. I mean, they're not going to be sitting.
I don't know about that. They might have a wild card locked up, and maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But here's my question with James Cook. Do you think getting the extension done, how is it important in terms of, I'm not sure if he didn't have this extension that he would be doing what he's doing right now. I'm not saying he would quit on the team. I'm not really suggesting that, but he has made it very clear all summer long, and he didn't try to hide it. This is about business. He was standing on business. He wanted to get his money. And if he didn't get his money, I'm wondering if he plays through, the ankle injury that he had a couple weeks ago. I wonder if something gets nicked up and banged up, that he wants to play every week, that he's not going to sit out and make a business decision that, hey, I've seen my big brother suffer a major injury and basically cut his career short. I'm making sure I get my bag before any of that. So I'm going to look out for myself first before the team. Maybe that's a little bit of a hyperbole by a little bit, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like,
I get it.
he's
Yeah.
all in right now. He's 100% all in. He doesn't have to worry about the money. He doesn't have to worry about the contract. Clearly he was, but now he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. So maybe he's getting that extra 5%. You're getting that extra 5% out of him. And like I said, a couple weeks ago, maybe when he was out with the ankle to begin the week, he doesn't play. He played in that game. You know what I mean? Do you think the contract's giving him that security to really be more all in?
I think
That makes sense.
I think the injury angle, probably. I don't know if he's playing harder or anything like that. I mean, we've
Sure.
seen plenty of players that in their contract year, that's when they play their hardest. And, they have those peak seasons in the contract year so they can secure the bag that off season. But I do think that if you're a little bit nicked up, if you're dinged up, you don't want to play because you want to put just your best games on tape, not, your 80% game or your 75% game. So I do think there's some validity to the injury thing.
Sure. Well, regardless of what it is, he's been the Bills' MVP so far this season.
Absolutely.
I don't know how anyone can debate that. He's been absolutely fantastic. You know who hasn't been fantastic? The wide
Nice segue.
receivers.
Nice.
The wide receivers have not been great. They weren't great in this game. Granted, they didn't need to be great in this game. Keon Coleman returned after 2 games of being healthy and active. 2 catches for 9 yards. He did have the touchdown. He had to drop 2, but he did have his touchdown. Brandon Cooks comes in on Wednesday or whatever it was. 1 catch, 13 yards earlier in the game. That's the last you hear from him. Gay Davis, 1 catch for 5 yards. Khalil Shakir, 1 catch for 5 yards. Tyrell Shavers, no catches, no targets. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't say he didn't have a hell of a game blocking, man. Holy shit, did he have a good game blocking. I got a little fun fact with him after you speak here. But anyway, he did nothing in the passing game. And I was looking on Next Gen Stats. No, the Bills, nobody on the Bills among their receivers averaged more than 1.5 yards per separation average other than Keon Coleman. His was only 2.2, so that's bad too. His guys weren't getting open, but again, they didn't really throw the receivers much. They didn't have to. Kind of a whatever game. What do you think?
Yeah, the first play of the game, they went to a wide receiver on Cooks on that comeback route, and then just 10 targets the rest of the game. Shavers led the team in wide receiver snaps, but didn't get any targets. Like he
only
was
ran 6 routes. He was out there to block.
Yeah, he was on the field for 61% of the plays. Like, I mean, he outsnapped Gabe Davis, which, I mean, if I would not have bet that heading into the game for sure. The Shakir of it all is concerning to me. Obviously, they paid him this offseason. They wanted him to be a focal point of the offense. And, I mean, 4 targets, 5 yards, just his stat line has not been where it needs to be this season.
Yeah.
And part of it's like, obviously, the Joe Brady of it all, where he's targeting him behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage and not, on those intermediate routes where he's done so much damage in the past. So it's not like, I don't know. I don't think Shakir got worse this offseason or anything like that, but the way that they're using him is concerning me. I ended up giving the position group a C for this game. They didn't really do anything special in the passing game for me, outside of Keon Coleman making himself available to Josh Allen on the touchdown pass. But like you said, Terrell Shavers blocking his ass off. I mean, it's hard to give him below a C when, they did what they were asked to do for the most part.
Tyrell Shavers, so James Cook had 3 carries of more than 10 yards. Tyrell Shavers was on the field and had a key block on all 3 of those runs.
I believe it.
I can't overstate how good and valuable Tyrell Shavers was just with the blocking alone. Circling back to your Khalil Shakir point, I love that. I don't think he's gotten worse. I don't think he's regressing.
No.
A lot of the things that we complain about Joe Brady, maybe some of it's not on Joe Brady. This is on Joe Brady because the passing game with him, with the exception of a few plays, seems to revolve around Shakir getting the ball within 5 yards or even behind the line of scrimmage. They're not letting him operate enough in the intermediate part of the field, which is frustrating because we've seen even this time at times this season where when you do get him the ball in intermediate routes, he could do good things with the football, and they're not finding a way to get him involved. He's just been another guy, and he's too good and too well paid to just be another guy on this team.
And again, maybe this game isn't the game to have that conversation, but it's certainly like eye-opening when he gets that many targets and only has 5 yards. So, I mean, yes, they were down both of their tackles. They weren't going to press the ball vertically. And again, they didn't have to because they were spamming a run play, which we'll talk about when we get to coaching. But it is a concern looking at the totality of Khalil Shakir's year.
100%. And then the other thing I wanted to add, I know the haterades coming out of me or whatever, but man, if you go back and you watch the tape, I don't intentionally mean to just pile on Keon Coleman, but the touchdown he had, he didn't do anything. And it wasn't because he ran a great route that he beat his guy. He literally started on the right side, ran a crossing route, and just straight up. Asante Samuel Jr., you can see it on the tape, who's new to the team for Pittsburgh, and the safety was Duger. They had a miscommunication, and neither guy ran with him. Like, they were in man, except for they didn't just run with Keon Coleman. He was a good 3-4 steps before they realized, oh, shit, he's running across the field. And then they fruitlessly started to chase him. But it's not like Keon ran this great route or anything like that. That play is 99.5% Josh Allen because it was designed for Dawson Knox. And it worked, too. The play scheme by Brady worked. I can't remember what receiver it was. Maybe it was Shavers. I can't remember. But anyway, Dawson Knox was open on the outside. But Josh Allen didn't have a chance to set and throw it to him because Eccles was already coming in his face, and then he had to improvise. But anyway, Keon with like I said, a touchdown where he really didn't do much. He did have a drop, and he held on to two other. There was two slants.
That drop was like the frustrating one because like that's why they brought in Gabe Davis, and like he catches those, and like that was his first catch. You know, when he was activated last week or the week before that. Like they did that quick slant, boom, pick up a first down on 4th down, and Coleman wasn't able to do that. And that one time they targeted him.
Quick question before we get to a break here. Kind of looking forward a little bit since we've been talking about receivers here. Sure. They had 5. Josh Palmer missed this game. He was limited. They were hopeful, weren't ready to go. I'm thinking they just wanted to give him an extra week to get the ankle better. Let's say he can go on Sunday. He's not going to be healthy and active. I can promise you that with Josh Palmer. And I don't think they're going to play 6 receivers or dress 6 receivers when 5 of them do not play special teams. That's not going to happen. So if Josh Palmer's in against the Bengals, who's out? Is it Brandon Cooks? Is it Keon Coleman? Because it feels like a lock to me that it's got to be one of those 2 guys. It's not going to be Shavers. It's not going to be Gabe. It's not going to be Shakir.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's one of those 2 guys. And I really don't know about Brandon Cooks and their usage of him. Like if they're, they get Deion Dawkins back and Spencer Brown back for this game, and they think that they can push the ball down the field, it's probably Brandon Cooks. If, Dawkins and Spencer Brown are still out, I might keep Coleman in the lineup because we can't push the ball down the field. I do think you're right. They're not going to dress 6 wide receivers. They've done it once since September. And that was when they had Hardman, who was playing special teams, to your point, doing all the returning for them. So it's been a long time since they had 6 receivers up when one of them wasn't the returner.
I got a feeling, I wanted to say Keon Coleman, but I got a feeling I would say Brandon Cooks would be the guy out. And part because of what you said, being physical, running the ball, Keon Coleman's a better blocker. And neither guy's getting down the field anyway. So anyway, let's take a quick break, come back. We'll get to tight ends, offensive line. We'll hit up the defense, coaching, and then we'll take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, back here with Matt Warren from SB Nation, talking Buffalo, presented by the law offices at William Mattar. Heard in the car, call William Mattar. No Dalton Kincaid at tight end this week. Dawson Knox, 3 catches for 28 yards. Jackson Hawes, 1 catch for 10 yards. Tell you what, watching the All-22 back, the story of this position had nothing to do with catching the ball. These guys were impressive blocking, especially Jackson Hawes. I don't follow 31 other teams, Matt, so I can't speak on how good the blocking is by tight ends on 31 other teams. but I think you might be hard-pressed to find more than maybe a small smattering of guys who could block better than Jackson Hawes, who obviously is just a fifth-round rookie, man. The job that he is doing and that he did on Sunday, and Dawson Knox too, they helped. Those guys had plenty to do with TJ Watt being a complete non-factor in this football game, man. Anyway, nothing really in the receiving side. Well, 3 for 28 is not nothing, and 1 for 10, but it was a blocking for me. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and Knox bailed out Allen a couple times on those 3 catches for 28 yards. So I gave them an A. It wasn't an A+ game, but it was real darn close to that. Obviously, I've loved them all season, been giving them really super high grades. That the catch to Jackson Hawes was almost an afterthought by Allen, if I remember it correctly. It was just kind of like, yeah, here you go. And then he turns around and just like runs through some people. But I think the biggest takeaway from this game is that Hawes played 70% of the snaps and Knox was just ahead of him by 1 snap. So they obviously were run heavy in this game. We knew that was going to be the case. We knew that they were going to keep him into chip on passing plays as well. And that's exactly what happened. And, seeing them out there with 2 tight ends 70% of the time is just, it makes my heart so happy. So I hope they keep doing it when Dalton Kincaid comes back. Obviously it'll be a little bit of a different 2 tight end set with Kincaid back. But I love seeing those guys on the field. So let's keep it coming.
Offensive line. Now, going into this game, I would have said, Matt, from time to time, we hit up on this. You are an educator by trade, and you curve on a grave. I've asked you this before. I would have said, are you going to curve on a grave? Because Alec Anderson, the last time he played right tackle was at UCLA.
I know, crazy.
Okay? Ryan Vandermark starts at left tackle, so no Deion Dawkins, no Spencer Brown. You got TJ Watt on the other side. You got Alex Highsmith on the other side. You got Cameron Hayward in the middle. It's just, it's a lot of talent on that defensive line. So this Bills offensive line comes into the game wounded. And I'll tell you what, no sacks by Josh Allen. And again, he escaped a few, but still, only 7 pressures, 25.9% pressure rate from Pittsburgh. That's the best performance by the Bills offensive line since New England in week 5, by the way. So they did not give up pressures. I think Josh was pressured, 28 times in Houston the week before. So that's literally, they cut that down by 3/4 in this football game. Now, they didn't throw a lot, which is, okay, well, they didn't throw a lot, Pat. Well, they ran for 249 yards, the most that anyone has ran against that team in Pittsburgh in 50 years. Alec Anderson had a couple of frustrating false starts. That was annoying early in the game.
Yes.
Who cares? I don't know. Whatever. If this isn't at least an A, what are we doing here, Matt? What's up? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this game would have been good enough if it had been the starters out there. I just think that it was awesome. Like Alec Anderson we already talked about, was sent out of training camp practice for a late hit. And he really showed that mean streak during this game. I mean, TJ Watt talked about it after the game that they got their asses kicked. And like when, a future Hall of Famers out there at the podium visibly pissed off because the Bills just absolutely had their way with the defensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about this again in coaching, but the Bills just spammed that same run play over and over and over and over again. And the Bills just freaking buried the Steelers on it every single time. And I'm like, I'd keep calling it too. Like if it's getting, 8 yards a carry or 12 yards a carry on some of them. So I gave them an A+. And if I was grading it on a curve, it would be like, the Christmas Story, like A+++++ on the chalkboard.
I was going to pull my Michael Scott here. It's an A++.
There you go.
In this football game. I'll say this too. I mean, you also got to get props like we talked about to Shavers and to Hawes and the Dawson Knox, because it wasn't just 5 guys blocking the Steelers defense. They did a great job too, but it was also the interior guys. Shout out McGovern, Edwards, Torrance. I mean, they ran a lot of that stuff up the middle on them too. Those misdirection kind of plays. And it was just beautiful. It really was. And at the beginning of the show, I talked about my stupid in-game tweeting about Joe Brady. I also called myself out yet again here. I was begging to get Alec Anderson off the field early in the game. I was like, please get him off the field. Josh Allen is going to leave in a body bag if they don't get Alec Anderson off the field, because I thought TJ Watt was just going to murder Josh Allen. But Alec Anderson, to his credit, man, he really, really held his own. I'll tell you this, and I've heard this, I might have talked about it on the show before. I know for a fact that those guys, both of them who started this game, Anderson and Vandermark, earlier in the season, there was interest from other teams that traded for them. The teams were interested in them. They're depth pieces in the Bills. These guys could be starters on other teams. And we saw why on Sunday. Props to Brandon Beane for not getting rid of those guys, because obviously it turned out they really needed them.
Yeah, we talked about Vandermark being a trade option at the 53-man roster cutdown because they wanted to stash Tylen Grable on injured reserve, and now he's on the active roster. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance all of that going forward, because they have one more offensive lineman than they really want right now when Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins get back. And so, but they can't expose him to waivers because they wanted to keep him. So they're going to just have to, kind of get through the rest of the season because they had to activate Tylen Grable.
Pretty much for the rest of this season, Chase Lunt is taking up a roster spot for the future.
Yep.
He's not in their plans this year. Grable would have been the guy who played if one of those guys anywhere on the line actually would have went down. It would have been him before Lunt. So they're using up a spot for Lunt because they believe in his future. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's switch to the other side of the ball. Defensive tackle, DaQuan Jones. I think he's having a quiet, decent year. Not great, not spectacular. He's not putting up numbers per se, but I think he's been better than some people, including myself, have given him credit for throughout the season. He played about 63% of the snaps. He had 2 tackles, 2 run stops. Larry Ogunjobi, nothing. Jordan Phillips, 1 tackle. Deion Walker had a tackle and a pressure. TJ Sanders, I thought, had his best game of the season of his career. He had a tackle, he had a pressure, he had a really nice rep. I put it on my Twitter, at Patrick Moran TV, by the way. If you want to go look at some clips, I put some up on Monday and Tuesday from this game. And one of them was TJ Sanders, who had a rep from right defensive end. This wasn't as a tackle, but really good rep, man. The left tackle, Pete, he kind of bullied him and almost got a sack. He had a couple good plays anyway. He was pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to stand for DaQuan Jones. He's been the most consistent player on this defensive line when he's been in the lineup. He's been the glue that's held them together. And I would not have thought that heading into the season, we'll say.
Played almost 63% of the snaps in this game, too. He continues to play a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but he may be playing himself into another 1-year contract if he wants to stick around next season. I know they drafted a crap ton of defensive tackles and they might not need him, but it's just he's playing at a level that I would bring him back, not at the contract numbers that he's had in the past, but I just have really liked what I've seen from him this year. The Steelers averaged 3.2 yards per rush. They're no slouches at running the ball themselves, and the Bills were able to really keep them in check. They didn't flash on the stat sheet a ton, but I think they were annoying as hell for the Steelers offensive line. So I gave the defensive tackles an A in this game. The whole defense, I think, played really, really well. And I mean, the only score the Steelers had was on the short field after the James Cook touchdown. 39-yard drive. Pretty good day.
I agree. And by the way, I'm glad you brought that up too, because the Steelers' only touchdown did come on the James Cook fumble. When we talked about the running backs, he fumbled and it cost him. It did cost him a touchdown. The short field. By the way, Walker, Sanders, and Ogunjobi all played the same amount of snaps, 44%. Yeah. So a lot of balance there. But like I said, DaQuan holding it up. Jordan Phillips, like I said, he didn't play much. That feels about right. Could see one of those guys, Phillips or Mathis, get cut this week. I could see that happening. They're going to need another edge. Speaking of, we'll get there. Joey Bosa. Shockingly, I fought with Joe from Queens. Go figure. I called the Joey Bosa strip sack, fumble, touchdown, one of the top 3 plays of the season so far for this football team. It completely changed the game. The Bills were down when that happened. It's easy they romped them, they dominated them. Sure, they were losing 7, despite the yardage and the time of possession, they were down 7-3 coming out of that locker room with Pittsburgh getting the football, and they needed to make a play. And Joey Bosa made the play. And Christian Benford, right place, right time, right blitz call, scoops it up, and it's a touchdown. The game completely changes. Ed Oliver's fumble on Henry in the week 1 and Terrell Bernard's pick late in the fourth quarter against Tua. I put Bosa's play right up there with them. It really changed the course of this game. Who knows what happens? If Pittsburgh gets that ball, they connect on a play or two and they score. Who knows how this, maybe the Bills don't run the balls. Who knows how it plays out. Anyway, Joey Bosa, who, by the way, leads the NFL now, 5 forced fumbles. It's funny because I've been shitting on him for the last month because I think he's been terrible for the last couple of weeks, but he made a big play. This team really fed off of that. Greg Rizzo had a big stop on 4th down. The guy don't get sacks, but you know what? He is a great run defender. He really is. AJ Epinesa technically had a sack on a bad snap, but he also had a really stupid penalty that pissed me off. Javon Solomon only played 3 snaps, by the way. The Bills, this tells you what they think about Javon Solomon as an edge guy. They're going with TJ Sanders or DaQuan Jones over Javon Solomon when they got to bring out a second unit to get Bosa and Groot off the field. That pretty much tells you the story about Javon Solomon. He only played 3 snaps. But anyway, like I said, a huge game-changing play from Bosa, who's hurt. We'll talk about that in a second. A big 4th down stop by Groot, and that's pretty much what you got from defensive edge.
Yeah, and you were saying Bosa didn't play great over the last month while he was dealing with that wrist injury. And yeah, absolutely correct. He obviously played really well in this game and made one of the biggest plays of the season. I'll agree with you on that. I really liked this game from all of the defensive ends that were out there, except for that Epinesa penalty, which really pissed me off in the moment because I saw him like swinging for it, and I'm like, oh no! Like this game was super chippy, as we know with Cam Hayward and Josh Allen stuff. Like there was a time when like there was a receiver and a cornerback fighting in the end zone after a play, and they didn't throw a penalty on anybody. I'm like, okay, I guess that's going to be the type of game it was, and the Bills rose to that occasion.
Yeah.
Like the Giants weren't able to do against the Patriots on Monday night this week. And so like, it's going to be interesting in a couple weeks if, the Bills and Patriots get a little bit chippy too. So in any event, like getting back to the defensive ends, like their rotation's not going to survive unless they add somebody, because they clearly don't trust Javon Solomon. So I do think that we're in the sitting Jordan Phillips down and elevating one of the defensive ends from the practice squad, whether it's Morgan Fox or Shaq Lawson, I really don't care. But we're definitely at that time because they're not going to. Shaq Lawson and Morgan Fox probably aren't playing special teams, and so they still need Javon Solomon in that role. Jordan Phillips isn't playing special teams, so they can sit him down, bring up one of those defensive ends. I think that's where we're at. But in this game specifically, I gave them an A. I thought they were great. They're probably 1 or 2 plays away from an A+ from me. But that strip sack gets them a lot. So, yeah.
Listen, Joey Bosa, kind of like Von Miller, week to week, maybe he's not going to dominate games. And maybe I need to do a better job of keeping that in mind. But you get him
big spots
to make the kind of play he made Sunday. Here's the problem. He hurt his calf. I've heard from a couple media people that I've talked to that he was walking around pretty slow after this game. Sean McDermott, of course, as you would expect on Monday, was very non-committal. The Bills will be practicing on Wednesday. A lot of you will be listening to this before, maybe even after the Bills practice on Wednesday. Is he a DNP? Is he limited? My money right now is on Joey Bosa missing multiple games. That's where I'm at right now. I'll be stunned if he plays this week. In fact, I'd almost be willing to bet you right now that he's not going to play this week. Here's what I can see happen. I had to do the math in my head, and this is why TJ Sanders playing better might be significant, Matt. DaQuan Jones, Larry Ogunjobi, Walker, Sanders. That's 4 defensive tackle. You got Jordan Phillips, and you got Fedarian Mathis. Is he on the roster right now or is he on IR? I can't remember. Was he inactive? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. He's been out for so long that.
Yeah, I can't remember if they put him on IR because they activated Grable on Saturday and they didn't make a corresponding move.
They put Curtis Samuel on injured reserve.
But then I'm
looking it up. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, here was the point I was getting to. I think there's a great chance that the Bills could cut Jordan Phillips and Fedarian Mathis this week. Both of them. And hopefully they sign one or both of them back to the practice squad. And you got Morgan Fox. Now, they could also just use elevations this week, so that could happen as well. So hold on. Let me take that back. Those guys ain't playing. Morgan Fox is going to get elevated this week.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq Lawson might get elevated this week as well. Both those guys might be. Here's where I was talking about. All right, I lost my train of thought for a second.
Yeah, so Mathis,
go ahead.
Mathis is still on the roster. And so they keep him sat down. They sit down Jordan Phillips. Joey Bosa's out for this game. So they bring up both Morgan Fox and Shaq Lawson to play ahead of Javon Solomon. And now you've got a four-man rotation that you can at least count on with Joey Bosa out. And so I do think that that's a very strong possibility this week. At least that's what I think you were going to say.
It was what I was going to say, but what I would add is one of those guys might get signed and one of the defensive tackles might get cut. And here's why. Yeah. You still might need to use, you get two elevations. Mm-hmm. You can't use lot 2 anymore. They've already used it up with him. So I think if Kincaid ain't back this week, they're going to have to you're going to see this team make a tight end move unless they sign lot 2 to the active roster. This team's not playing without 3 tight ends. I can tell you that right now. So there's a lot of injury stuff to factor, but maybe it's a Spectre or a linebacker. If Bernard's not there, they might want to use an elevation somewhere else is what I'm saying. And if they do that, then you got to sign one of those 2 edge guys. They can't keep rolling out Sanders and Daquan Jones to play edge. Not against good quarterbacks and good teams. That's why I think, like, if Morgan Fox takes Bosa's spot, I think Shaq Lawson comes up to take Javon Solomon's spot in that rotation. So we'll see how that plays out. I know I'm being a little bit premature here in midweek, but I think you're going to see some roster maneuvering this week in part because Bosa's injured. All right, linebackers here. Shaq Thompson gets started middle linebacker, 9 tackles, 5 run stops. Matt Milano played about 81% of the snaps, 3 tackles. I thought he looked good. Dorian Williams played 44% of the snaps. Bills played a decent amount of 4-3 defense in this game, which I love that. He had 2 tackles and a pressure. What do you think, linebacker?
I gave them an A+, and that is saying something based on the linebacker play this year. Let me back up a second. Shaq Thompson in this game was stellar. People want to give Brandon Beane shit about the wide receiver group, and they should. Like, the wide receiver group is, like, not great. When they got Shaq Thompson, how they got Shaq Thompson needs to, like, get massive respect put on it. He led the team with 9 tackles. He was everywhere on that Benford pick. He was the one that undercut the route, which meant Mason Rudolph had to put more air on it. And that's why he floated it to Benford. Like, it was just a stellar game from Shaq Thompson. I don't see how he comes off the field. Now, that's not saying that Terrell Bernard, when he comes back, that he's not going to be on the field next to Shaq Thompson. I just don't see a world where Shaq Thompson is coming off the field and going to be playing, like, 30% of the snaps or something. He's been that good this season. So he's going to rotate in with Milano and Bernard, probably ahead of Milano on a lot of those pass plays, or on a lot of those plays in general. Milano had some really nice fills in the run game, that tackle for a loss. Tony Romo called him one of the best weak side linebackers in the league, which I'm like, yeah, a couple of years ago he was, but, like, Tony Romo, nice. Thank you. Dorian Williams had a QB hit. Like, I saw a lot of really great stuff from linebackers, so I went A+, and they deserve the flowers when they play well.
You mentioned Daquan Jones earlier about somebody who's kind of might be playing himself into another contract. Shaq Thompson might be a guy that they want to bring back. Now, you got to be careful with Shaq Thompson. Like, when he's healthy, he could be my starting Mike all day long. The problem is you cannot count on him to stay healthy for a 17-game season. So if he's going to be your starter, you better have a pretty solid plan B in case. It is going to be interesting what happens with Bernard. I agree with you. You do not take Shaq Thompson off the field. I do not think they're going to take Shaq Thompson off the field. I think there'll be some packages. Like, if you're in a 4-3, I think you keep Bernard out. You go with Shaq, Milano, and Dorian Williams. I think that's your best 4-3 look. You go to nickel, then maybe you go Bernard and Milano, or Bernard and Thompson, depending on the situation. And Bernard's your dime linebacker when you're down to 1 linebacker, because I don't know. How good is he running right now?
The problem with that is, like, if you're platooning Thompson and Bernard, like, both of them can't have the green dot in their helmet at the exact same time.
That's true. Yeah.
And so it's a little bit, I don't know. It's just logistical stuff, not game plan stuff.
Listen, part of coaching is communicating tough decisions in a way that you're not going to lose players. But you got to find a way, because I know Terrell Bernard's a captain. He's not better than Shaq Thompson. He's just not. No, at least not this year. He's not. Now, he's never going to be a better run thumper or that kind of linebacker. But what Terrell Bernard is better at is running and pass coverage and making splash plays. However, he's better at that when his ankle's 100%, and it's just not at 100%, and it probably won't be for this year. So we'll see how it plays out, but that's going to be interesting. Cornerback. All right, I said earlier in the show, my little teaser, when I went back and watched the film, I was kind of blown away by position. This was it. Corner. Christian Benford. Folks, by the time you're listening to this on Wednesday, he may be your AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Now, I didn't go around and look at all the other teams in the AFC and see who had big games, but I don't know, man. This guy, he had an interception. He had a fumble recovery. He had a defensive touchdown. He's just so good against the run, too. He shadowed Metcalf all day long. He said that after the game, too. Metcalf had 3 catches for 32 yards. Our friend Joe Marino at Locked On Bills put up a great stat on Twitter. Since week 6, he's got the 4th best passer rating against among all corners in the NFL, 2nd in fewest coverage snaps per target, and he's allowed 9 catches on 17 targets for 121 yards with an interception, and he has not allowed a touchdown since week 6. So your boy is back. All right, back. He started out slow this season. Who knows why? Maybe, I know he had a little bit of an injury issue at camp. Maybe that trickled into the season, the new contract. I don't know. But whatever was ailing him a little bit early in the season is gone. He is back to being one of the more underrated players in the NFL. And that contract, yet again, seems like a bargain. And that's not it, Matt. Trey White, this guy deserves some shine. Mm-hmm. 2 targets, no receptions allowed, 122 coverage snaps since week 6, 12 targets, 2 catches for 20 yards. That's like that's pre-major injury statistics from Trey White. Now, are teams testing him a lot? No. There's other elements and factors involved. He's not getting thrown at a lot. But the point is, and he had a really nice pass breakup on the first drive of the game, too.
He did.
Trey White has been great. So good, in fact, that I ain't mad that Max Harrison is kind of losing out in the platoon. We got Max Harrison for the next 4 years. If he can help you this year, fantastic. All right. But right now, Trey White has been great. And Teron Johnson was fine in this game. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was fine. But Benford and Trey, man, they were great in this football game.
Yeah, I think he doubled up Max Harrison in terms of snaps.
He did.
In this game. And it's because he's playing so well that they didn't want to take him off the field, which is saying a lot, because they have a lot of invested in Max Harrison. And so I do agree with you that Trey White played really, really well. They blitzed their corners several times in this game as well. That's why Christian Benford was in the backfield on that scoop and score. And so they obviously are trusting, the defensive backs in general. 83 yards from the Steelers is a really, really good day, or from the Steelers receivers, I should say, is a really, really good day for the secondary in general. I gave this cornerbacks an A+, and if you had told me I was going to be doing that at the beginning of the season, I would have called you crazy. So I thought they were great.
They were great. And I'm telling you, Benford is becoming elite again.
Yes.
Trey White is playing good enough that I'm okay with Max not playing 50% of the snaps. Now, I might change my mind next week. The Bengals might, cook Trey White. I might get this old, washed-up dude off the football field.
Well, T. Higgins is still hurt in concussion protocol as of right now. Obviously, a lot can change between Tuesday at noon and Sunday when the game is played. So, obviously, we don't want to root for people staying in concussion protocol, but it would certainly help the Bills secondary out if they only have to focus on Jamar Chase.
And listen. Say what you want about Trey. You know what he hasn't done this season? He hasn't gotten cooked for a touchdown down the field. Max Harrison is an athletic, gifted rookie, and I'm very excited about his future with the Bills. And they might need him to play in the playoffs and be productive, but he's gotten beat a few times too. Like, he got burned on that Jalen Waddle touchdown. And say what you want. Trey White has not given up a play like that this season. So And I'm not saying he's better than Max Harrison, so let's not get this twisted. All I'm telling you is that he's not the liability that a lot of people think he is or thought he was early in the season. That's all I'm saying.
It's the 111 thing, right? Like Harrison got caught looking in the backfield on that play. Waddle went right past him. Trey White is doing his freaking job and just doing his job and trusting everybody else, and it's working.
Safeties. Cole Bishop was fine. 4 tackles, didn't get beat. And when you're a safety, sometimes you got to mention, hey, they didn't make a big mistake because you're usually the last line of defense. Right. So just not making a big mistake is worth mentioning. He was fine. Jordan Poyer played 38 of the 40 snaps where the starters were in. 38 out of 40. So you want to talk about the Hairston rotation. Yeah. Well, for now anyway, the Jordan Hancock rotation is pretty much gone. In fact, Cam Lewis was out there for a couple dime snaps at safety. He was involved in a play. But anyway, Poyer had 5 tackles, and he's another one. I keep waiting for him to get exposed. He's slow. He can't run. Some teams are just going to chew him up and spit him out. Well, week after week he's out there, and it's not happening. I thought he played pretty well. Again, Hancock just 2 snaps. Cam Lewis played a couple safety. Fine, whatever. But, Bishop was good. And Jordan Poyer, man, kind of like Trey White. Let's give him a little bit of love here, man. He's really stabilized. He's not hurting the defense. Let's put it that way. It's not hurting them.
Yeah, Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich can coach secondary. Who knew? So if the Bills are blitzing the corners like they did in this game, it's because they trust the safeties. And obviously they trust their safeties. Poyer was second on the team in tackles. Bishop was third. So that's less than ideal. You want that to be more of an upfront thing, but obviously it's not their fault. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I just thought that was a little wrinkle that I wanted to throw out there. I gave them an A for this game. Like you said, they didn't make a mistake. They didn't do anything super massive, but Chris on that, the interception, they're in perfect position so that Mason Rudolph doesn't have options and he has to float that ball that Christian Benford eventually picks off. So, I mean, they're playing really, really well and surprisingly well, I think, based on the early season struggles. So, I mean, if we're going to ding coaches for play calling and the mistakes that they make, we also need to give them credit for how they've coached up this secondary this season.
I did not give Jordan Poyer enough credit when he came back to Buffalo.
Most people didn't.
And when he, signed on the practice squad and when he got elevated.
You're I hope he doesn't play.
That's exactly how I felt at the time. His best football looked behind him. He was not great in Buffalo was last year, and he was very bad in Miami last year, which now in hindsight, that had a lot to do with their system and just that organization as much as Jordan Poyer itself. But I did not give him enough credit. I was not pleased when I was like, come on, this is a team in the championship window, Josh Allen's prime, and you got Jordan Poyer out there starting at safety. Yep. Did not give him enough credit, not only for what he's done for Cole Bishop, which on its own is significant. Mm-hmm. Cole Bishop, night and day, is a different player than he was at the beginning of the season, and you cannot deny that Jordan Poyer has definitely played a role in that. But just what he's done on the field, he has been a steady presence on the team that really has needed it. I thought this was going to be kind of a little feel-good story. He comes back to Buffalo to finish off his career, kind of like Micah Hyde did last year, almost like a Rudy situation. Maybe he can get into a game, like Rudy at Notre Dame, and he makes a play and everyone's happy for him. This dude ain't Rudy. This dude is still a good football player. That's what I'm saying. Jordan Poyer has been an asset to the Buffalo Bills defense in the year of 2025. I just want to put that out there. He's been really good.
Mm-hmm. He's been a very serviceable safety. I really like what we're seeing from him. I mean, especially if you consider the fact that he's their 4th or 5th safety through the rotation right now. People again want to give the Bills pro scouting department grief. What they've been able to do at a position that has been heavily impacted by injuries needs to at least be acknowledged.
Yeah. And I say that now, and I might be yelling that he's cooked.
Yeah.
Next week when he's
not as fast as he used to be, but they're scheming around that. And again, that goes back to good secondary and defensive coaching. I don't love Sean McDermott as a game manager all the time, but the dude knows how to coach defense.
Yeah. Real quick here, we'll fly through special teams because we're getting short on time here. Matt Prater missed an extra point again for a second straight week. They had a hold on a fair catch punt, which really pisses me off. It seems to happen almost every week. Mitch Wisnowski had 2 punts. One of them was a touchback. He couldn't land it short of the goal line. Did a pretty good job, kick coverage, but special teams. What do you think?
Yeah, I live I live skeeted it on Blue Sky in real time in the first half. The Bills were at like the 42, and they eventually took the delay of game and punted from the 47, but they were at the 42 on 4th down. They punted it. It was a touchback. So they gained 22 yards on that punt. The Steelers go 3 and out and just absolutely blast. It was like a 40-something yard punt, but then the Bills had a penalty on it. So they're starting at their own like 12. They lost 45 yards after a 3 and out. And so like certainly the special teams could have been better. The Bills, by the way, went 3 and out, punted it back to the Steelers, and they had the ball at the 43 where the Bills had punted it from the 42. So after exchanging punts, the Steelers had gained the same amount of yards the Bills got on that punt. And so not what you want from special teams. But missed extra point. Like I would not give them a very good grade for this game. So I'll say like a C, I guess. I don't know. I'm just spitballing at this point.
I'm taking off a full letter grade from you because I've agreed with every grade pretty much you've had today.
Sure.
Except this one. They get a D for me because I am sick and tired of this team getting called for holding calls on special team returns, especially on freaking fair catches. Khalil Shakir is no threat to run a punt back. You have to know that. He's going to call fair catch 8 out of 10 times. Let him call fair catch. Do not hold on a freaking punt.
Fair.
God, that pisses me off. And they've done it like 3 times at least that I could think of in the last month. Pisses me off. Coaching. The Bills ran for 249 yards, dude. The defense, I don't know what they did specifically. They just executed very well, I feel like. They started out sloppy. They kept their head in the game, though. They were ready to play. I think Sean McDermott knew the significance of this game. What do you think with coaching before we look at forward to the Bengals here at the end?
Yeah, the defense only gave up 1 drive that was over 40 yards, and that was in the 4th quarter when the Bills were certainly in control of the game. The game wasn't like put away, but the Bills were in control of that game. Everybody, every position group on the defense got an A from me this week or an A+. So, obviously the defensive coaching was good. I think it's hilarious how many people are talking about the Bills just running the same play over and over again on offense. And like most weeks it's a complaint. And this week it's like, well, yeah, I'd keep doing that too if it was doing how well they did. So I'm going to give Joe Brady an A on this game as well, just because like, why would you stop doing that play? Like, I don't get it. Like, so there was plenty of like Brian Baldinger or like these offensive line people that like are tweeting out like screenshots or videos. And it's like, I could run through that hole. I'd get murdered, but I could run through that hole. And like, so the coaching staff in general got an A from me this week. They did make a mistake on, or at least what I thought was a mistake on the penalty on the touchdown where they took the yardage on the kickoff instead of the extra point. Silly stuff like that. Just like annoys the crap out of me because like that's what I talk about with Sean McDermott all the time. But whatever. They got an A.
Only thing I'll add, and it would get an A for me too as well, is I've coached little loop football before, okay? And we had a running back who was just better than everyone else. Most teams we played, he was just better than. And we would call the same play most of the time. Stop it. You can't stop it. This was like a little league game. Like the Bills' running game was just too good for the little loop defense to be able to stop. And every now and then you get a little bit too cute. And you're like, well, I don't want Xavier to get the ball every time. I want to, run an end around. I want to make sure these guys get their touches and stuff. No, it's not the way. If they can't stop something, why are you not going to do it? And I actually give Joe Brady a ton of credit for that. Let me ask you this, though, real quick. And plus, by the way, I picked the Bills to lose this game on my preview show on Friday. I picked them to lose 27-20. So how can I not give the coaches an A? I'm 0 for 3 this year when I pick against the Bills, which is good, obviously. Maybe I need to start doing it more often. Spoiler alert, I might do it again this Sunday, not because of superstition, because I just think Cincinnati's a really tough team for them. Anyway, I picked Baltimore, I picked Kansas City, and I picked Pittsburgh to win. If this was talking Pittsburgh, real quick here, Matt, how mad would you be at Mike Tomlin right now? I felt like he quit in the fourth quarter. Like that 10-minute drive that the Bills had in the fourth quarter felt like surrender city. Once they got 2 first downs, like he wasn't interested in starting to use his timeouts when there was like 5 minutes left and you're down 2 scores. You know what I mean? Like 16 points is just, he didn't even bother using timeouts. They just let him run down the clock. I'd be mad. If I'm a Steelers fan this week, I am really pissed at Mike Tomlin.
Well, there's a lot of Steelers fans that are really pissed at Mike Tomlin all the time now.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that.
You have to understand why. Like, they haven't won a playoff game in a very long time.
2016.
And they haven't, like, obviously gone, to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl in a long time as well. So I totally get the frustration with him. And if it was me, I'd be frustrated as well. Like you said, 9 years without a playoff win. Like, I don't give a crap that you're 9-7 every year, or, you barely make the playoffs. Like, we're trying to win a Super Bowl here. And you're just kind of treading water. So I agree with you on the frustration with Mike Tomlin. I hadn't thought about him giving up, quote unquote, during that long drive. It just felt like the Bills were imposing their will, and like, I don't know. He seems to be a leader of men. And so it's like, it would shock me if like the team gave up, quote unquote, on a guy like him. But at some point, and we saw this with Bill Cowher, at some point they tune you out a little bit. And so maybe it's that time in Pittsburgh, though they don't really have a lot of guys that have been there for forever right now, tuning him out. Like TJ Watt's still playing well. Cam Hayward's like certainly not taking plays off and everything like that. So it just might be time to change it up in Pittsburgh, to your point.
Well, they're down 16. And when the clock expires, they still have 2 timeouts left on the clock. The only reason why they use one, they had to because TJ Watt had gotten hurt late in the game. You also had a 3rd and 9 where you run the football, and that's not on Tomlin. He didn't call the run. But they got 7.5 yards, and then they punted on 4th and 1.5 yards, too. So that was frustrating for them. But anyway, who cares? Because we're not Steelers fans. So looking forward to the Cincinnati Bengals this week. So they're 4-8. This is, make no mistake about it, this is a playoff game for the Cincinnati Bengals.
It is.
They know they need to win out. So their playoffs already have, and even if they win out, they might not make the playoffs, but they know they have to have a chance. So this is literally playoff mode for them. They beat the Ravens on the road last week, 32-14. Joe Burrow returned and made his presence felt right away. 24-46, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Bengals might be 4-8. The Bengals are 8-0 in Joey Burrow's last 8 starts. Trey Hendrickson's not going to play. He's already been doubtful. You mentioned T. Higgins. He's still in concussion protocol. Kind of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, like no Hendrickson. I'm telling you now, Joey Bosa's not going to play this week, so that kind of washes out. Higgins out. Dawkins or Brown, one of those guys are probably going to be out, maybe both of them again. So both teams have injuries to significant players. Jamar Chase, of course, he's the beast. We don't really need to get into his numbers. Here's what I will tell you, though. The defense for the Bengals continues to be really bad.
They're the worst.
They are last in the NFL in yards allowed. They're allowing 410 yards a game. They are dead last in passing yards allowed, 256 yards per game. They're 31st in rush defense. So they're not dead last. They're only second worst in rush defense, and they're last allowed in points, 31. So they're giving up 410 yards and 31 points per game. Joey Burrow's great, but that dude don't play no defense, all right? The pressure is on Joe Brady. There ain't no excuses whether your tackles are in or Kincaid is in or not. This defense
got a newborn, no one cares.
Sucks. Yep, nobody cares about your newborn. I'm joking, of course. But yeah, this is, look, Joey Burrow has played great against the Bills. The Bills have not played good against the Bengals in 2 games plus 1 that unfortunately wasn't completed. They beat us here in the playoffs a couple of years ago. I mean, it was a while ago. So I don't know, man. Burrow's going to be tough. That offense is going to be tough, but that defense is soft and they suck. And no Trey Hendrickson. So I don't know. What are your thoughts right now as we're midweek getting into this game?
Well, it's interesting. Like as soon as the line came out, I bet the over. It was 51.5, and I'm like, I think there's going to be way more points than that. It's still a high over. Over under. 5 yards per rushing attempt allowed by this Bengals defense. The Bills might end up spamming that play over and over again and have another 10-minute drive in this game. So they might hit the under just because the Bills only have like 5 drives in this game because they just run it down their throats. Like, we talked earlier this year about how Josh Allen plays his best against quarterbacks that he feels like he's competing with. And so Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, hopefully Drake May coming up in a couple weeks, not earlier this season, but so like when he's Baker Mayfield, when he sees Joe Burrow across the sideline, it just feels like he's going to play at the Josh Allen level that we really want and need out of this. And so I do think the Bills are going to win this game because their defense is better than the Bengals defense. And they're going to be able to get off the field a little bit. I do expect Jamar Chase to have a monster game. The Bills, Christian Benford may have been maybe playing great since week 4, week 5, week 6, somewhere in there, but Jamar Chase is probably the best wide receiver on the planet. And it's just going to be very hard. Even if they focus completely on him. The Bengals rushing attack, isn't bad, isn't horrible. They've just been down in a lot of games. And so like they're averaging 4 yards per carry, but they only have 1,000 rushing yards because they've been behind in so many games that they're passing the ball a ton. And they have the second most passing attempts in the entire NFL right now. And that's with Joe Burrow being out. So, I see this game going the Bills' way because of the Buffalo defense, not because of anything else.
I'll tell you this, obviously Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, it's going to be
fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But we talked about it earlier. You just said it. I agree with you. Jamar Chase very well may be the best receiver in the NFL. Maybe it's Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson, he doesn't have the quarterback that Jamar Chase does. You're only as good to some extent, at least, as your
fantasy team,
as your quarterback. But Christian Benford, he's been great, and he's going to follow Jamar Chase around. I just, as great as, we've talked up Christian Benford plenty on this show, and it's deserved, but you might have to give him some help, man.
They're going to have to bracket Chase, I think, and put at least one other guy to give Benford some help. Yeah,
look, as great as he is, I think you got to help him. Plus, as great as Joe Burrow is, if you could find a way to effectively take him, I don't say take him, but at least contain Jamar Chase, that might make it a little more difficult for Cincy. A little too early for me to tell you who I like in this game, but I'm definitely leaning Bills. All right. It's going to be it for the show. I wanted to remind, I was looking it up while you were talking. Sarah Larson, Buffalo Rumblings. It's a good article in Buffalo Rumblings. That's just everyone goes and reads this. It's about how the Bills' 2025 contract extensions could impact 2026. Some really good stuff in there number-wise about some of these contracts, trying to get out of her dead cap money and stuff. I don't want to spoil the good vibes that we've had this show, Matt, because the Bills had a big win. But everyone go check out Buffalo Rumblings. Of course, that's part of SB Nation. And read this article specifically. There's some good stuff in there with contract numbers and what the Bills could be looking at this offseason, which kind of makes it more urgent for the Bills, I feel like, to really, finish this season strong.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet because it came out Sunday morning as we were getting, and obviously I work Sunday all day. I was up until midnight or 1 a.m. So doing all the playoff pictures and stuff like that around SB Nation. And so I haven't read it yet, but it is on my short list of things to read today, Tuesday.
Yeah, it's informative for sure. Sarah Larson, again, props to her, who's been to 94 consecutive Bills games, home and away, which is wild enough in its own. But the fact that she travels from Florida to all these games, she's got one home game a year. That's when the Bills go to Miami. That's just, that is truly awesome. But anyway, make sure you follow Matt on his socials at Matt Rich Warren, Blue Sky, as well as Twitter. Check out SB Nation. Bills fans, make sure you read Buffalo Rumblings. Like I said, it's more like your one-stop shop for all things Buffalo Bills. Appreciate your time as always, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, guys, I'll be back. Brand new show. Steve Bermel's going to join me. We're going to be live very late Wednesday night after the Sabres game. We'll talk Sabres, Bills, Bengals, plenty more coming up on the show tomorrow.